rare now for you to be able to bring family members over with you when you're an international student. And obviously, if you're married or you've got children, you're not going to want to leave them elsewhere while you pursue an education. You're going to look at countries that will offer you a visa quite easily without having to have that whole paperwork and not being even allowed to come in the end. Also, as well, the student fees for international students are incredibly high. They're currently at £16,900 at the University of Bedfordshire for an international student. Also, since Brexit, EU students are now considered international students as well. So we've had a massive drop in EU students. Before, they would come here because it was easy. They didn't have to apply for visas. They were paying the same amount as home students. UK students only pay £9,535. But that's a big difference between the two. We're talking almost £8,000, and that's a lot of money. And international students as well are not allowed to get student loans in the same way a UK student is, so they're not entitled to student loans, so it's entirely self-funded. And you've got to look at EU students. They have the ability to go wherever they want within the EU. They don't have to get a visa, and a lot of other EU countries offer free university. So why would they stay or look at the UK when they can go elsewhere and get a degree from just as an established or well-known university as some of the universities in the United Kingdom in comparison to elsewhere? So it's not a surprise that people are not turning to us post-Brexit. The EU students are not coming. And now with the visa changes, the international students don't want to come either. And that's led to a huge drop. And the University in Bedfordshire is really struggling as well. Like, they've been struggling for quite a while. They announced a month ago that they were going to cut jobs. I know they've cut a lot of courses. The course that I did at the University of Bedfordshire, because I am a graduate from there, I did broadcast journalism. They don't do journalism at all anymore at the University of Bedfordshire. That's completely gone as a degree. And as a result, I think a lot of students are either looking elsewhere. It's also never really done well in student satisfaction surveys. The University of Bedfordshire was always kind of ranked quite poorly in them. They've also ranked quite poorly overall in kind of like league tables. And it's been really hard for them, I think, to kind of wipe that image. But it's surprising to me that they're cutting these media courses that kind of were University of Bedfordshire's bread and butter. Like, it's what everyone knew them for. So it's really surprising to me that they've cut these courses. It's not only international students that are kind of causing this decrease as well. Attitudes towards the university is changing. A lot of children nowadays, or young adults, are coming out of school or college and not wanting to go to university. They're looking at apprenticeships where they can be earning money. They can often be paid to do degrees as well at the same time, or level 4 courses, which is essentially the first year of a university degree. So why would they want to then take away that opportunity where they can get paid to work and learn at the same time, as opposed to going to university where it's going to cost them £9,000 a year? And I think this big shift in attitude towards the university has really changed. People still want to do traditional courses like law, becoming doctors. They have to go to university. That hasn't changed. But for a lot of people that were perhaps doing these media courses, or they were looking, even computing nowadays, a lot of people are going into apprenticeships for computing. They're just completely changing their views on how they go to university now. And I think, like, I've spoken to lots of young people, and a lot of them are going, I want to do an apprenticeship. I don't want to go to university. It's too expensive. It's too much time. It's a lot of money. It's having to move out of house. And they're not earning, and they don't want to. And you have to only look. I was reading an article today as well. Many students are even struggling to get, graduates are struggling to get jobs in supermarkets these days. There's been a BBC article this morning with a student, a graduate student, who has been job searching for 15 months since she graduated. And even every supermarket has knocked her back for a job. She's really struggling to find work. And it's not on the WhatsApp number. So for our kind of second story this week, we're going to talk housing. Now, while this is not entirely Luton, it does affect Luton massively. So Central Bedfordshire have announced they're reviewing a local plan that has over 600 sites across the county, Central Bedfordshire's authority, not the whole county, for development. That's not just going to be housing, but it is going to be industrial developments as well. but the vast majority of them are going to be new homes, and they're going to be in the villages and surrounding areas to Luton. Now, the problem Luton has is that, as Luton is a unitary authority, Luton's unitary authority area is pretty small, and it is also already full. So any expansion to Luton now that occurs will happen into different authorities like Central Bedfordshire and like North Hertfordshire. And the problem that Luton Borough Council has is a lot of these people will be living in Luton. They'll be using Luton services, whether it's GPs, whether it's schooling, but they won't be receiving the funding of the council tax money from these people that are living elsewhere. That will go to Central Bedfordshire and potentially North Herts. It happens already. Parts of Bushmead in Luton is actually in Central Bedfordshire. And so they have their bins taken by Central Bedfordshire lorries, even though they technically live in Luton. And they have to apply to Central Bedfordshire for their schools, but they still go to school in Luton like everyone else. And this is a big issue. Houghton Regis has had a huge expansion. It's almost, I'd say, doubled in size in the last kind of year or two. It's actually shocking. If you've not been to Houghton Regis recently, I definitely recommend you go there and see what it's like. It's changed massively, but obviously these expansions then kind of leave us looking very different as a town, not only as a town, but obviously there's plenty of people that probably listen to Inspire FM that are based in Bedfordshire, Central Beds. And these places are changing now. What once were villages are now huge towns almost. And these expansions are not being kind of met with the schooling needs and GP needs. Same wherever you are in the UK. I think any sort of housing developments are changing massively the kind of amount of people that are here, particularly in the southeast, particularly in Bedfordshire, but we haven't really caught up yet. And I think this is going to be a big issue for Luton Borough Council coming up. They've got the expansion of the airport, which will see them having to increase housing round here, so they'll need more people to be living here to be working at the airport, but they won't be living in Luton technically. They will be, but they might not be paying their council tax. So Luton Borough Council are going to have a big problem on their hands potentially funding wise, because they're going to have to fund these schools and nursery places and lots of things, but not have that money coming in. So it's a big issue, but in a more positive light, I've been really enjoying the spring cleans. I think around Luton, I've seen so many. I mean, Kev at ABCD is fantastic. I feel like he's been putting on a clean every single day. No matter what, he's always cleaning, always on it constantly. And I've seen people on Montrose Avenue. I think every area of Luton has had a spring clean. And it's also great as well to see councillors out there. You're seeing people working for the council are often out in the town ones, getting involved. Luton Bid are always in the town centre, getting involved in them. And I think it's really great to see how much is improving our town, and it's looking so much better. I think it's really important that we deal with our litter issue. There is a big issue when it comes to litter in Luton, and it's leaving our town looking a lot cleaner, a lot brighter. I know Luton and Bloom are doing a lot of work at the minute to kind of improve the flowers and the kind of garden situations around like the town centre and just other areas in the town. But I think we need to, as a community, give ourselves a big pat on the back at how hard we've worked to improve the town and how pretty it is and how much better it's looking. So what are your spring cleaning tips at the minute? Have you been involved in any local spring cleans, or are you organising one? Because it's not just Kev at ABCD that does them. There's plenty of people throughout our community that are organising spring cleans. Get in touch, let us know. You can obviously contact us on social media, or you can message us on a WhatsApp on 077 9481 822. So with that, obviously, Inspire FM are kind of working quite closely at the minute with Luton in Bloom. And if you want to get involved, have you got any gardening tips? Are you a keen gardener who wants to kind of talk about those things? definitely get in touch with us as well. We're really keen to speak to people that are really kind of passionate about gardening. Whether you want to get involved in Luton Bloom, I think they're always definitely up for having more volunteers. Most charity organisations in the town are, and I think it's definitely worth getting involved if you want to. I think once you make a place more beautiful, it's so much easier to see the positive side of a place. I think people are always quite negative about Luton because it doesn't always look the best. Sometimes there's a lot of rubbish, and there's not always the nicest thing. Buildings are looking a bit ratty or something like that. But I think now with the changes that people are making in the town, people are determined to clean up this litter, make it look so much more nicer. People like Luton in Bloom are trying to make the flowers look better and improve our town so that it makes it a more positive place, because when it's a positive place, people are more positive. And I think that's a really important thing. So not only is the town looking a lot prettier, obviously, I don't know if you've been into Luton Town Centre recently, but ABC Cinema, the derelict cinema, had a whole new little revamp, and it's looking absolutely fantastic on the outside. The artist Sarah Hodgkins was commissioned by Luton Borough Council to kind of improve the look of the outside of the cinema. And they've got these beautiful kind of art installations around the outside to make it look much better and just kind of look more fitting. It's kind of very similar to what you see inside. I kind of give the impression, when you see clothes shops on the high street, and sometimes they put lovely pictures on the outside to make it look the high street a little less grey and depressing, shabby. And but yeah, I think Sarah's show on Inspire FM, he is going to be talking to men from across the town, many of them Muslim, but others that are involved in mental health support anyway. And he's going to be speaking to many different people about how men feel, how things affect them, because men's mental health is a really difficult topic to discuss. It's been a problem for years. Many men have felt they can't discuss mental health and they feel uncomfortable or that they shouldn't talk about it. But there has been much changing attitudes now. There's people across this town that are trying to help with men's mental health specifically. There's many good CICs out there and charities as well that are involved with this. And Suleiman's going to be trying to speak to as many people as possible so that he kind of opens that conversation up so that men feel that they can talk openly about their mental health or when they're suffering, and that they don't have to suffer in silence or be alone. Suicide is the biggest killer of men, period. It is. And I think it's really important conversation to be had, and Suleiman is really keen to get men on that podcast. So again, if you want to get involved, if you're happy to talk about your mental health, then please do get in touch on WhatsApp on 0777 94 81 822. And with that, there's also, when we're talking about positive people in this town, well done to anyone that participated in the London Marathon this weekend. There was quite a few people, no doubt, across this town, but some notable people to remember is Luton Lions, who had a number of guys from that team who do running across the town. You've probably seen them on their runs in the evenings. They're always out there. They're always at every kind of running event in the town. Lovely up. Before the big day, we're going to be talking about actual Comic-Con itself. And not only that, how is it putting on an event? What is it like? What's the experience been like for them? Have they learned? What have they learned? What are their recommendations? If you want to put an event on Luton, what can you do? What can you learn from them? How can they help you? We hope that it will kind of spur people on to get involved, because there's so many fantastic events in this town already. This weekend, or this week in general, has got some great events on. There's so much going on in the town, and we'll probably talk about that in the second half. But if you want to get involved, get in touch, 077 94 81 822 to let us know on WhatsApp, or you can get in touch on social media, and I will see you after the break. Thank you so much for tuning in for the first half.